Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. So yesterday we did this one first, and it was talking about alien invasion underway. Well, so says an insider over at DARPA. Interesting stuff. And, again, if you look closely, you can see clearly that things are not what they appear to be.
They certainly are not.
And so I do want to share... Peter, one of our family members over there, I keep up with Clear Seeing, which is the English translation of some of the Polish psychic Krzysztof Jankowski's work. And his regular channel is in Polish with no closed captions. And I don't speak Polish, but Peter does. So Peter was sharing this, and he says, major news from the Polish psychic. Another, plague upon the land is being planned for the fall. And this one could be a little bit more intense than what happened before. It depends on how strong each one of us are as far as our immune system. So, be aware of this. He's also seeing that there's going to be the beginning of the real war. All hell breaking loose, and problems with the, that thing that happens in first week of November, all of it kind of coming down. So, again, do your preparations, keep as prepared as you can be. I would add, spiritually and physically from the point of view of be in good shape. Because the reality is, or as good as you can, the reality is, again, we are very soft compared to our forefathers. Those that came before us, I think, were a lot more hardy than we are. And this modern life has made a lot of people obese, out of shape, and in very poor health. And that is why I feel so many people are really, having some of the issues. There's many reasons, obviously. Things are layered. We speak openly on Patreon. And, again, there's lots of things to this. But on the whole, this world is such that we really depend on technology. And, I remember as a kid, I used to walk with my mother because we only ever had one car. I used to walk with her to get groceries, and then we would walk back carrying bags of groceries for like a mile. People don't do that nowadays. People don't even have the energy a lot to go out and go and park in the back of a parking lot and walk their groceries to that. People don't have that energy. This is what I mean. We're very soft as a society, and when the grid goes down, when there's things happening that are going to demand us to get off our butts, a lot of people are just going to have an issue with that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. It's something that's very, very frightening. Even to myself, because I've had my own health issues that really knocked me on my keister, and I've been trying to crawl up and out of this hole. I think I'm doing much better these days than I was, say, even 6 months ago. I'm getting stronger and stronger every day, and I can feel it in my muscles. But it's taken work. It's taken to make very deliberate steps. And I think pretty soon we are going to have an interview with Rosemary and just talk about the things that Rosemary thinks that people need to know. And she's just so valuable. And I think we're going to do it on Patreon. I'm not sure, though.
She's a naturopath again, just
Yes.
explaining her background. She is a naturopath, and she has a lot of insight into detoxing and boosting the immune system. And, she's one of the first people we talk to when we have questions. And we've interviewed her before several times. I would say maybe 3 or 4 times over the course of, the channels. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to bring that up again. Root yourself spiritually. I don't think people understand that the physical component of this. Again, we might have to do a lot of things with our hands, and our legs that we're not used to in the times that are coming up. Meanwhile, Hamas leader Hania assassinated in Iran by an Israeli strike. there's been a lot of these assassinations when you get down to it, and still we haven't had the big WW transpire. I do think it's all about timing. This is the last day in July. We are absolutely moving into a different period here. And yeah, there's a lot of things now that seem to be coming into place. This escalation that's been going on, it just seems to be, again, going to a different place. And we could see where it's going. We could obviously see where it's going. It's going to be very, very curious to watch how all these things transpire. You know, put out your prayers for peace. I am heartened by reading comments everywhere. And when I say that, I mean, you know, just out there in the mainstream media, where people are saying, no more of these stupid wars that they know are for simply controlling profits. And yet they are still going to go ahead with this. You know, that's the realization. As long as they got people that are going to follow their words. Look to Venezuela again, and the chaos and confusion that's going on there. As long as they have people that will take up arms for money and just simply enforce the will of people, just because they will pay them, you know, then you're still going to have these issues. So Hamas says Beirut attack was a dangerous escalation. The U.S., of course, backs Israel. And also there's reports that some of the U.S. Navy is moving into position off the coast of Lebanon and Israel there to support any sort of war operations. When you look at the Fleet and Marine tracker, it's busy. I mean, it's so busy. It's like they got everything going. Monkey Works in his last video yesterday, I think it was that he did it, was just saying, you know, again, when you look at the flights, they're through the roof. We're at a totally new level. They just seem to keep going up. He said it looks like there's a lot of hardware being put into Europe. And then as you see here, you know, you have a lot of power sitting over there in the Pacific, and over here in the Persian Gulf, you have this PATS for SWA is literally National Guard. And since 9/11, there's been a lot of National Guard that's not guarding our nation. No, they're over on the other side of the world, as far away from us as they could be. And the Teddy Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group is in the Persian Gulf as well. And then you can see also there's presence inside the Mediterranean and more that have just left and are, it seems, heading over towards Europe. So, you know, just hang on tight and be as prepared as you can. Put out positive vibes, but at the same time, it really frustrates me sometimes when I see on other channels that I feel are basically positive channels trying to give people a heads up to stay prepared, and people say, you know, fear mongering and, you know, all these different things. It's like, well, I don't think this is fear mongering. Again, we haven't been able to stop World War I or II with positive intentions. And, you know, are we going to be able to stop WW3 when they still have their hands and fingers on all the weaponry and still have vast armies, you know, that are willing to follow them? So I don't think sticking our head in the sand, it does any good. Again, I think that really what we got to do is use energy and effort to awaken others and take the extra time to explain some things to people that are not seeing the world for what it is. Now, we talked about yesterday how there was some political call for what could possibly be seen as intervention, and I forget where I heard it, but I do remember there was some prophecy that was talking about WW3 literally starting somewhere that was very, very unexpected, and not necessarily in what we expect, the Middle East and all. So this is Rick Scott. Again, this is a Florida senator. He's been in place a long time in the political scene, talking about the U.S. must stand with the people of Venezuela as courageously rallying for freedom and democracy. Yeah, there's going to be this push maybe to even go in there militarily to oust Maduro. Well, will that happen? I mean, I saw where there was 20 different nations that have put this idea out there. Again, when you look to Elon, he's working it behind the scenes there. It's you can't make this up. You really can't make this up. You have Maduro declaring Musk his arch enemy and actually challenges Elon to a fight. Well, he's got to get in line behind Zuckerberg.
I know. I this is just also very confusing because you have people who have an enormous amount of views, an enormous amount of followers saying one thing, and then, you know, the mainstream saying another thing, and it's like, really, what is going on? And I think that veil is very deliberate, but if you feel into the mainstream and you get a feel for, well, what do they want you to think the opposite of that. That's usually the right thing to do.
I would hope that a lot of this would hit, and I know you guys get it. I would hope a lot of this would hit people as kind of weird. You know, again, who's Elon? He's just a billionaire. Yeah, very powerful person. But this is what the system does, is there's tiers of these actors. They're all actors, but the reality is during these wars, people really die. And it's the people that don't realize, and even those that do realize, because they just get grabbed off the streets and forced into conscription, that this is really it's an act to keep people at each other. Everything that's being done is really being done to keep us arguing and fighting and not recognizing that we're controlled by one system. It's really one system. It has a lot of different tentacles. Russia legalizes Bitcoin for international trade to bypass sanctions. So, you know, when you look at things, and 45 is now talking about Bitcoin, RFK Jr., you know, that's been a staple of what he's been talking about. And now you have Russia with Bitcoin. You got to wonder, you know, again, people will not accept certain things that are coming from certain power structures. But if they perceive something as a good alternative, then they'll accept that version. But when it has the same potential for absolute control, because, you know, what's the difference? And I understand where people are going to go with this. And some people will say, well, you know, Bitcoin's not being regulated by, you know, the few or the UN, et cetera, et cetera. The reality is anything can be completely controlled by someone that forcibly takes it at any moment of time. And this is just, it's an agreed upon illusion. There's no real value there at all. Silver and gold have actual value in many different ways, even with consciousness and health.
Well, to me, it's so much of a power grab, no matter how you look at it. I mean, look what just happened a few weeks ago with all of the smart services that were turned off. Some people couldn't even get into their refrigerators, their smart refrigerators. I mean, this was a test to see how much control they have. And if anyone thinks that this isn't a power grab so that they have complete remote control of all of your funds, you know, I don't know what to tell you. We really have to hold on to the old-fashioned, you know, keep the cash in the hand type thing. And I don't know exactly how to do that, because then again, you would have to have people agree on it. You know, it's just what kind of an illusion do we feel more comfortable agreeing on? And I prefer to have a little bit of control than zero control.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, again, can this be controlled from afar and keep you away from what you view as your assets with the flick of a keystroke? Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I just don't feel comfortable with it. And I was looking at translated comments from Christoph's video, And the people in Poland were bringing that up as well. Don't trust anything that you can't touch. And I think a lot of people around the world, maybe more people get things than we realize. It's just that they're afraid to speak up, because again, we see history repeating itself yet again. Here you have, this says Venezuelans raiding warehouses controlled by Maduro's forces, finding massive stockpiles of medicines and food. So it's becoming evident the regime was keeping it all to themselves to manufacture artificial shortages, right, and make the public dependent on the regime. Every single government there is does this. They all do this. You have the U.S. government still paying people not to farm. This is the world system. As long as we think, well, it's only the commies. No, it's every system, because they're one system. Yes, we can easily look to what's happened in the last 4 years with totally. There's many words that come to mind to describe 46's regime, and yet I don't want to get in trouble here, but it doesn't really matter, because it's all part of the show, and that pendulum keeps swinging wider and wider. So they go from the left to the right in ever widening degrees until something just explodes. This is what they're doing. They're trying to trigger that explosion. It's so obvious for so many people. There was a landslide that happened in India. Over 170 people lost their lives, and they're still searching for 200 more. This again, this is RT, and what do they blame it on? Basically, runaway temperatures. Still, it's the system that's still giving us these narratives. Yet we can see, like when you look at Mohenjo-Daro, this is one of the big ones. That says it was founded 4,500 years ago. I don't think so. I think it's much older than that. Again, they don't want us understanding what came before the draconian invasion, because it was a draconian invasion. These people were living peacefully, very, very peacefully, and here there still is traces of radiation in this area. These people did not go around armed. There was no kingship. There was no kings, queens, or presidents. No, it seemed like they were having some sort of government that was truly by the people, for the people, of the people, with no overseeing. It was in many ways anarchy, because what is anarchy? There's no central authority. They didn't have a central authority. People, will blurt out things, like there was somebody that blurted out on, I think it was Rumble, or maybe it was BitChute, there's only one king, and it's Christ the King. And they can't understand that there could be some sort of system in place where there's not presidents, kings, and queens, because they're so indoctrinated. They're just so in the box, they can't look outside the box. But we've had civilizations outside that box. They were better civilizations than what we know of. Those people all died suddenly. And we are never alone, and there are very, very dark forces at work that are very real. Very, very real, and controlling and manipulating people. Now, this guy looks like he was perhaps having a night out and a little bit of a bender. Again, be careful about letting your guard down with alcohol, with illicit substances, and also with things that are perfectly legal but do the exact same thing as those illegal substances. Now, this could be just totally nothing. However, I think the reality of this is very real. If you didn't catch it, it looked like there was an orb that came out and literally knocked the guy out. Literally knocked the guy out. When people are drunk, when people are not in the right clear state of mind from things that are totally legal that you could get for having depression, anxiety, etc., you are completely wide open to being used, abused, and even taken over by these dark energies. And not all energies are dark either. It's not all demons out there. No, there's many, many beings out there. Just like with humans, we find, good, bad, and everything in between.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have to cultivate what we want in our lives, and we have to hold on to that energy, hold on to that vibration. But that doesn't mean that other things don't look for opportunities to step in and wreak whatever havoc they possibly can. So we'll just have to have our guard up as best as we can out there.
This is, they say, from the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. This, can you imagine? Why don't we have any, do we have any Ferris wheels that can put 2,160 people up in the air at the same time?
You got to ask the questions, like how does this happen? How did this get built? Where did this come from?
And there's much more than that. When you look at it, there's so much that's hidden that we've only discovered in more recent times. And there's so much more to uncover. The reality is, this world has been occupied by many, many different beings. And we did get an update and just share that as far as like humanoid species that were here reseeding this planet, you're looking at perhaps hundreds of different ones that were here reseeding the planet after the destruction of Tiamat. Massive numbers. And what does the system do? Well, the system goes around. Why do they pay attention to the things that 23andMe and Ancestry.com does? Because certain genetic strains hold more potential for awakening, more potential to pull back those memories and understand what's going on. Yes, there are a lot of humans out there at this point in time that really are clueless in that, they don't even seem to have the potential to understand certain things. But, I do think there might be some form of what we might call NPCs out there, which could include perhaps already living cyborgs, so to speak, and robots, and as well as all sorts of cloned beings out there that don't necessarily have the same source spark that we have in us. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and we're just starting to uncover this now at this point in time. And because we are uncovering it in this point in time, this is why they're going to do it again. And so there are a lot of things you can do to boost your health and get ready for whatever they're going to throw at us. Turmeric and ginger, combine that. It's powerful. And this is, part of what the dogs eat every day. And, we have a lot of turmeric and a lot of ginger. Those are things we use all the time. Natural immune system boost, absolutely. Combine them. You could do it in many different ways. Cindy puts together her own capsules, and this is part of how we save money, because you might buy 100 capsules of turmeric, and it might cost you $9.99 or $14.95, whatever it is. We buy like 5-pound bags of turmeric and make sure it's sourced properly and always organic. Know where it comes from. We don't buy anything out of China just because we don't trust it at all. No offense to China. I think China has an amazing culture, but at the same time, we do also recognize that the U.S. has its own problems when it comes to food. Eat healthy, boost your immune system. Now is more critical than ever because, again, we're going to be under attack in many different ways. Here you see this elephant is hijacking himself a snack. He's actually... What he did was he stepped out on the road, stopped the truck, so he could get himself a little sugar cane snack. Oh, yeah. He's a smart boy. Or girl.
I know. I thought this was really adorable that he just plops right out there and says, I'll take a bite of that. And the guy, well, of course he stopped. He kind of had to. But the intelligence that these animals bring to the table, I think we're really underestimating them.
Yeah, and again, the soul is really truly, the essence is the same. There's one source, and that source is within everything. somebody else was talking about how, you have to strip away the dogma and you get to the core of it. And, what is the core? The core is love, and compassion is something that's really, really important to show. And this gentleman here is feeding the strays. The love that comes from our family members, the dogs, again, they have all the emotions, and it kills me to see people that tie up their dog and don't let him in the cold of winter, or leave them out in storms. And I just don't understand how people don't see that spark of source within their eyes. Look into their eyes. This is a living soul, and it's family. We're all family, and we have to shift our perspective.
It really is heartbreaking. And to me, when we look at humanity and where we are at, take the lowest level of how people are treating their animals, and that's as high as we have come. And we have a long, long way to go. There's still so many people that just take dogs and they just dump them, they just dump them and assume that other people are going to take care of them. And so many of those dogs end up starving to death, or they fall prey, or they get hit by cars. And that, this is just where we're at. If we don't look at it, we're not going to get any better.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for being part of this family. We look forward to your comments. Stay prepared, source bless, and namaste.
Namaste.